If you are a singer who is dealing with reflux, who has recently been diagnosed, who is trying to manage symptoms of reflux like heartburn, burping, loss of range, hoarseness, voice fatigue, if you are dealing with any of those symptoms and you either know reflux is the cause or you wonder if reflux is part of the equation for you, then this is the video for you. Today I'm going to be talking about my experience as a singer diagnosed with reflux for the last 20 years. There are a whole lot of us. I'm going to be giving you warning signs and symptoms to look out for, as well as a whole lot of tips and remedies to make your life and your voice much, much better. Hi, I'm Amber Maud Cathy here at Nashville Vocal Studio. And for more vocal tips, information, and exercises, please be sure and hit that subscribe button. Today, I want to talk with you about something that so many singers deal with. So many people in general deal with this, but at a much larger percentage, singers deal with some level of reflux because one, we put a lot of pressure on our lower abdominal area with all of that low, really athletic breathing. Also, many singers, and certainly contemporary commercial singers, which is the majority of singers that I work with and that we work with at Nashville Vocal Studio, a lot of those singers have lifestyle habits that are not ideal and that can lead to reflux symptoms. Things like eating right before bed, eating bar food, fried food, heavy food, drinking a lot of caffeine, drinking more alcohol, all of those things that can exacerbate reflux symptoms, on top of the fact that we're doing all this much more athletic activity. So the type of reflux that you have probably heard about is Gerd. Gerd symptoms are things like lots of heartburn, kind of burning up the chest. Or you wake up in the morning, what I didn't necessarily have a lot of heartburn, but I would kind of have that fry in the morning, a whole lot of mucus on the cords, a whole lot of gunk, a whole lot of phlegm. Some people have a lot of burping. I didn't really have a lot of that. My issue was I would wake up with this phlegmy, gunky voice, and then I would go to sing, and I would notice that I could definitely feel and hear swelling in my cords, in my vocal folds, especially as I went up into that higher range. As we go higher, our cords stretch out and get thinner and vibrate more quickly. I was starting to lose notes up there. I went to doctor after doctor. They finally sent me to allergists who put me on all kinds of allergy medication. I did not have allergies, and nothing was making it better. I finally went to a laryngologist who went and looked at my cords and said immediately, you have reflux. Now, I was diagnosed at the time with Gerd, gastroesophageal reflux disease. But what they found out that I actually had, and that I think more singers seem to suffer from, is LPR. I didn't have bad heartburn. I didn't have lots of burping and things like that that go with typical Gerd symptoms. Mine was gunky voice in the morning, loss of range, hoarseness, and definitely I fatigued much more quickly. So that's something that I still deal with now. I have to really make specific choices in what I eat and what I drink, when I eat and drink, how I sleep, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. So the first thing that you want to do, if either you have been diagnosed with Gerd, you've been diagnosed with LPR, or what I get is a whole lot of singers that have symptoms just like I did back in my 20s and have no real answer. They don't know what the issue is. And I always say, I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you if you suffer from reflux, but a great way to kind of see if dietary choices are affecting your voice is to start to take a food diary. Write down everything you eat and you drink, and then note when you have those symptoms. So there are typical triggers for most people. Those triggers are going to be things like alcohol that actually loosens the pyloric valve between the stomach and the esophagus. So that valve loosens, you drink alcohol, which is very acidic, you lay down at night, and that acid that should stay in the stomach goes right up the esophagus into those vocal folds, kind of fries them, burns them. Mine were really red and irritated when they looked at them back in the day. And so the body shoots all this mucus into the throat to try and protect the cords, which makes us wake up all kinds of gunky and froggy and not in an ideal state for singers. So you can start to see those foods and those drinks that bother you. Like I said, alcohol is a pretty typical trigger for most people. Caffeine, coffee for me in particular, is a massive trigger. I haven't had coffee in almost 2 decades because it just killed my stomach, therefore my voice. I have lots of friends, even some of them who have reflux, that are singers, and coffee is totally fine for them. It really comes down person to person. Acidic fruits, acidic foods, I can't have oranges, I can't have tomatoes, I can't have onions and peppers. Chocolate bothers me. I totally have it anyway sometimes, FYI. But it really depends on the person. So a food diary would be recommendation number 1. Really start to look at what do you eat, what do you drink, and when do those issues occur? And then try to take those things out of your diet and see if that helps you. That may be all that you need to do. If it helps, but you still notice some issues, then the next thing I would say, number 2, is you don't want to eat or drink anything other than water, nothing that your stomach has to break down, for at least 3 hours before you go to bed. Again, for touring, gigging musicians, that's almost impossible. Lots of times shows go till late. You are shoving in some quick, many times not the greatest choices of food into your body before you crash and go to bed. But in an ideal world, 3 hours, no food or drink before. Even if you want to try that out right now when we're not able to tour and have those late night shows in person like we normally can, just try it out and see how it makes you feel. So no eating or drinking, nothing but water, 3 hours before you go to bed. The third one, a biggie for me, is elevating the head of your bed. So some people sleep on a body wedge, a wedge pillow. The key is it's got to start at your waist. All of this has to be lifted up where you're sleeping at an angle. The reason for that is what I mentioned before. You have all this acid in your stomach. It goes to move up into your esophagus and hit your vocal folds. But if you are sleeping in an elevated way, it can't go up to your vocal folds. What I have done, again, for the last many years, is I have about 6 to 8 inch cinder blocks under the head of my bed, both feet, so my entire bed lays like this. It has made a huge difference for me. Another key is nothing tight across the stomach. I don't even own a belt at this point. No fitted clothing. It's not really great for singers anyway because we have all of this lower abdominal expansion for our singing, but anything tight here, all that tight clothing, can really, again, exacerbate those reflux symptoms. Sometimes we have to wear that for shows. That's great, but otherwise, stay kind of loose around the middle. Hopefully those things will help you. Sometimes, as what happened to me, you can do all of those. You still have symptoms. You might need medication. You might need to take further steps. If you've tried all of those and you still are having symptoms, then I would encourage you to go see your doctor, just your general practitioner, let them know your symptoms, let them know what you've been doing, and go from there. So reflux is a pain that a lot of us deal with, but it's completely manageable. You have to figure out what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and you can absolutely have a full life and career as a singer and not let reflux keep you down. I hope you found this tip helpful. If you did, please hit that like button. Please be sure and hit that subscribe button, and please come back often.